Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about audit prep within Sage Intacct, and this is going to be the first video of a series of videos on the subject. What today, though, we're going to focus on is actually giving auditors access to your system to make the audit more smoother and efficient and save your team some time. Now, when I give clients the option to be able to let their auditors in the system, I usually get one of two responses. One being, oh, great, I can give them access to my system, it'll save us time, and they can pull their own documentation. The other response is also, oh no, I don't want auditors in my system. I only want them to get what they have asked for. Both responses are understandable. And today I want to show you how you can both give the auditors access to your system and also really restrict what they can see and only gather the data that they've asked for. And so to do that, we're going to go into the system. I'm going to show you how to create an admin or create a user as an admin, and then what that's going to look like from the auditor side. All right, so here we have my screen. I'm logged in as an admin within the system, and it's going to be really important that an admin does this part because they're the only ones who are going to have access to this users list here to create the audit user. And so when we're creating an audit user, I already have mine created, but you could create one from scratch by clicking add. I'm going to go ahead and go and edit though and show you what the important aspects of having an auditor user in your system looks like. First one being the user ID should be very generic because once you create the user, you can't change the ID. So you either have to inactivate and recreate this every year for a new auditor, or just have an ID that may not make sense going forward. So I would recommend something like auditor. And then you can either put the auditor's name, who's working on the audit that's this for that year, or the CPA firm's name instead. And then the email address for the contact for that auditor, whether it's generic email address or if it's the actual senior auditor on the job. If this changes from year to year, though, you're going to want to make sure you change it in both here, the email address, and then also in the contact information here. If you don't, it will error out when you try to save and tell you to do it. So it's not, you'll have to do that step if you want to change the email address. The other important thing about having an audit user in your system is making sure that you have a user type of employee. Now, you will need to have an extra employee user type around to use for this, and employee users come in 10 packs. So if you have a 10 pack and aren't using all 10, you already have one available. If you're not sure if you have one available or if you think you might need extra employee users, go ahead and contact your account manager and they can get you sorted out with that. And also the nice thing about being an employee user that it does automatically restrict some of their access in the system, so you don't have to worry about doing it through permissions. And it's also a lot cheaper than a business user. Admin privileges are off for employee users, so you don't have to worry about that. And then make sure the status is active. If this is a user ID you're using from year to year, you may inactivate or lock them out between audits, and then they can't have access to the system until you're ready for audit again. You can come in and make that active again. And then if it's a new auditor or if they forgot their password, probably by then they'll need a new one anyways for the new year. You can reset the password here for them. Now, the other important thing is the roles information. So I recommend creating a specific role just for your auditor. And this one is very locked down, and you'll have a lot of control over how locked down you want this role to be, or this for their permissions. For my auditor, I want to make sure that they can see the dashboards, the attachments, and the memorized reports I have on the dashboards. So those are the pieces I have on mine marked. And then from there, really, you can give them as much access or as little access as you want for them to be able to see in the system. And then save from there, and that will be their specific permission that they can use. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of all this since mine's all created. Although if you're doing this, I recommend you save, and then it'll ask you to put in your password to save it for good. So from here, we're actually going to log in as the auditor so you can see what kind of access they have once they have a user ID. So once I log in, it's going to take me to the same home page that I was just on with my admin because that's the same for everybody unless you changed it in your preferences. But when I go up with applications, you're going to notice I have a lot less access in the system. And even though it says journal ledger, I have no ability to access journal entries. And then I don't have even access to the reports. But I do have access to my handy dandy auditor dashboard here that was created for me as the auditor. And I can come into the dashboard, and that should give me all information I may have asked for as part of this audit, including board minutes, and policy procedures to put in our general file, or even maybe a list of federal grants and their current year expenditures to start doing compliance work. So this is an easy way to give your auditor access to the information you've asked for without letting them have full run of the system. I hope this video was helpful for you, and we will be releasing more videos on audit prep in the future, so keep a lookout for those. Thank you. Bye.